Royals baseball on Father's Day at Kauffman Stadium. A win today, and the Royals take 3 out of 4 from the Tigers. And today is the final day of the Home Run Challenge to raise money and awareness for prostate cancer research. Royals baseball is presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the ballpark with Rex Hudler. I'm Ryan Lefevre. We wish you a happy Father's Day, and happy Father's Day to you.
Right back to you, partner.
Appreciate that. The Royals, we figured, would have their hands full in this series with the Tigers, coming off a 3-game sweep over the Indians, tie for first place. The Tigers took game 1, knocked the Royals out of first place, and now the Royals have scored 26 runs in the last 2 games.
Yeah, the way the Kitty Cats came in here, they were hot. They were purring like tigers. They were playing the game. I didn't think we had much of a chance, but you never know in baseball. But with this offense, all of a sudden, with the frenzy style hitting, clicking on 1 through 9, all these hitters scoring runs, getting these hits, it's just been a beautiful thing. Anytime you can get that kind of production on the road or home, you'll take it.
Today, the Royals will face a pitcher that held them scoreless back on April the 20th. Jordan Zimmermann, 6 1/3 innings, no runs, 8 strikeouts. So the Royals could have their hands full today. Zimmermann could have his hands full with all the Royals offense, including Kendrys Morales, who had 4 hits and 5 RBIs last night. What is it about Kendrys Morales and the Tigers? He had a 3-home run game against them last September, and now this year off to a slow start. He's having his best series against the Tigers.
Yeah, and I hope that keeps up for one more game. Taking 3 out of 4 here. They got to have his bat. This guy right here won the Silver Slugger Award last season as the best designated hitter. Man, he knows how to do it. Tried a little bit too hard early, and now he's found his groove. We hope.
Chris Young will make the start for the Royals today, and when we come back, Joel will talk about what this start means to Chris Young.
Royals wrap up this homestand, and the starting pitching has been excellent of late. Joel Goldberg back down here by the Royals dugout. 55 straight batters without walking a hitter for the Royals rotation, and over the last 8 starts they have been excellent. A 2.77 ERA. Today it is Chris Young's turn, and perhaps here on Father's Day he will have his dad with him. His father passed last year, and Chris went out and pitched brilliantly the day after. He is our Honda most trusted player and made some improvements in his last start. And this is a guy that has had a lot of success in his career against the Tigers. Minimum 6 starts. He's got the 2nd lowest ERA of all time against Detroit. Hasn't faced him yet this year, but last season in 5 games, 2-0 with a 1.80 ERA, and in 2 starts, 11 innings, and no earned runs allowed. Chris Young will try to lead the Royals to a series win against the Tigers, and Whit Merrifield will try to start off the Royals. More on Whit next. Has he been? Seems like we talk about him every day. Our Toyota League leader, 7-game hitting streak, batting .424, 5 extra base hits, 8 RBI, 9 runs. He's hit in all 13 of his home starts, and safe to say he has been a spark since moving into the top spot of the lineup.
He's been consistently getting on base as of late. That's what we need. To score runs the way we've been the last few games or the last week or so. We need guys to get on, and so guys like Hosmer, Morales, myself to drive them in. So it's been nice to have him at the top.
And perhaps no coincidence that since Witt came up and has established himself now in the big leagues, the Royals offense has taken off. Last 25 games, 5.1 runs per game with a batting average over 300. That will play, as will Whit Merrifield today. He is at second base, and the Royals hope to give all those dads out there a Father's Day victory. Baseball coming up next from Kauffman Stadium.
The Missouri Lottery. Every ticket you play gives back to schools across Missouri, so play it forward with the Missouri Lottery. By Menards, save big money at Menards on all your home improvement needs. And by your Midwest Ford dealers. Visit your MidwestFordDealers.com. Plenty of sunshine, plenty of blue sky. Yeah. Cooler in parentheses or quotations, that's for sure. 88 degrees. We will get into the low 90s, and a south wind of just 9 miles per hour, so that'll move the air around somewhat on what will be a very hot day, as Chris Young will start the final game of this 4-game series. If the Royals win, they take 3 out of 4 from the Tigers.
Yep, Chris Young will tell you he hasn't had the start to this season that he had planned coming in, especially with all the home runs he's given up. But he would like to share with you that he has a 4-0 record with a 1.71 ERA against the Tigers all time in 9 outings, 6 starts. He's held them to just a 169 batting average. He's done well against them. That'll help him with confidence today. Keep the ball in the yard.
Here's the Tigers lineup today. Mike Aviles will be at second base. He's chatting with Cameron Maben, so no Ian Kinsler in the starting lineup today.
Yeah, that's good. Kinsler, he's been struggling, hitting under 200 in this series. But Aviles, you never know about him. There's only one guy, Justin Upton, who's got good numbers off of Chris Young in this lineup. He's hitting .333, 5 for 15. The forward Royals defense. Draw Dyson He's been outstanding. He's in center field, especially when it comes to throwouts. He's right there tied for second in the American League. Paulo out there and Eibner to his left and right.
So Cameron Maybin leads off against Chris Young. And Young's first pitch is down and away for ball one. Maybin did not play in the first two games of the series. He's been dealing with a sore quad and was 1 for 4 in the game last night. I can't believe it's been 9 years since Cameron Maybin first got to the big leagues at the age of 20. That was 9 years ago.
Yeah, but you know what? He's got very nice talent. He's a good hitter, but he never gave up on himself. That's the main thing.
Paulo Orlando looking up into that bright sunlight, makes a play in front of Dyson.
Dyson acted like he was wanting that ball. Paulo, he was camped under it. They're laughing about it.
Both uniforms today accented in powder blue for prostate cancer research and awareness. Micah Vilas takes a strike. Vilas started the first game of the series in the outfield. Started in left, and then when JD Martinez broke his elbow in the second inning, he moved over to right. Good slider down and away. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Yep, Opie's Young's 2 pitches. Slider, fastball, and I say them in that order because that's the majority of pitches he's been throwing this year. All been more pitches or sliders than fastballs. Slider keeps him off the fastball. Has a straight downward break.
Challenge him with a fastball and lined right to Paulo. 2 down.
We'll give you a little bit better breakdown here. More sliders than fastballs. There you go. Very few changeups. Interesting if Young hopefully can maneuver his way through 5 innings, maybe longer. Who knows? That's what they're going to see. Majority of those, and if he's on, he's popping the ball up. He's getting him to pop up and hit fly balls. That's what he wants. That stay in the yard.
And that breakdown may have something to do with how the opponents have jumped on his fastball this year. Remember, his fastball was always described as the invisiball. There's a fastball outside to Miguel Cabrera. Cabrera hit a big home run in game 1. Tigers won 10-4. To center field, down around the end of the bat. Dyson back. And now comes in to make the play. So the fly ball pitcher gets 3 fly ball outs in the top of the first. in Kansas City. And here come the Royals offensively, and after scoring 4 runs in game 1, the Royals scored 10 in game 2 and 16 last night. A win today, they take 3 out of 4 from the Tigers. They'll have to get past Jordan Zimmermann. As we told you at the top of the show, Zimmermann held the Royals scoreless over 6 1/3 innings back in April when he was one of the hottest pitchers in the American League.
Yes, and then he experienced a groin injury, and then he struggled a little bit, and he's had a hard time picking it up since. But you see the walks, only 16 of them. This guy's not going to give any free passes, and really, when you have a pitcher that has good numbers on walks, that don't walk anybody, it's always not a good recipe, because the Royals are a frenzy hitting team that love guys that throw strikes. It's the guys who don't throw strikes that give them the hardest time. Zimmermann, coming into today's game, hadn't walked 2 straight batters in 135 starts. That's incredible. That's his last time he walked back-to-back hitters was in 2012. It's crazy.
And he gets a 3-pitch strikeout against Whit Merrifield. Tigers raised some eyebrows when they forked out all that money for Jordan Zimmermann, and in his first 7 starts it looked like a great move. 5-2 with a 1.5 ERA, but in his last 5 starts he has been a winning pitcher. He's gotten some run support, but his ERA is over 6.5 in his last 5 starts.
And his battery mate James McCann. It's McCann. Wow.
Alcides Escobar, left field, and off the wall. Played well by Upton, but Escobar is into second base with a 1-out double. Almost.
I was a little bit in shock, because off the bat I thought it was out of here. With the wind blowing out to left field, he got a little height on that one. I thought he might have hit his first one of the year, but instead he'll take his 10th double. Slider spinning, saying hit me. And it's right over the middle of the plate, just off the tad at the end of the bat. And if he barrels that, that's going to be a homer.
Did he play that with his bare hand off the wall?
It looked like it. He got it in awfully quick.
Cuthbert says, hey, back to the weight room, buddy. So runner in scoring position for Eric Hosmer. Hosmer takes a mighty rip at Zimmermann's first pitch. Eric has driven in 4 in this series, 6 during the homestand, and he scored 7 times.
It's tough out.
Across the shins. 1 ball and 1 strike.
Well, Haas on the season is hitting 320, but off of righties he's really raking. 356. That's 4th best. Yeah.
Back with a fastball again. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Against pitchers like Zimmermann, a veteran who's done well, you figure they're really going to buckle down with runners in scoring position, but he's had trouble. That number at 328 is the 10th highest in the league. And if you go back to the beginning of last year, opponents have hit 309 against him with runners in scoring position. That's the 4th highest in the major leagues. You don't expect that.
No, and even the pitches that Haas has swung at, they were right down the middle of the plate. Basically, Haas pulling his head a little. That's been the issue. It's all about command whenever you're getting a guy who's not used to giving up those kind of high numbers, especially in risk. But James McCann, his catcher, told me before the game when he injured his groin, he lost some command, and he's tried to work through his issue there, and hasn't been working out for him.
That'll be out of play.
It's 3 now. He's given Haas here. 3 really good drivable pitches. Haas is missing a click so far early. Looks like Zimmermann's out there challenging him again today. Kind of like Fulmer did in game 1.
Moya comes up in right field, and Escobar gambled that that ball would drop, and the Tigers are going to get an easy double play. So Escobar thought it was going to drop. It does not, and Zimmerman faces only 3 in the bottom of the first. Performed well at the big league level, doing more than just keeping left field warm for Alex Gordon. And yet Alex is on his way back. Our University of Kansas hospital injury report. Alex will begin his rehab assignment today at AA Northwest Arkansas.
And I hope it goes well for him. Now, he doesn't necessarily have to pile up any hits. Just he's health free and goes out and plays the allotted innings he's supposed to.
Middle of the order, Victor Martinez, Nick Castellanos, and Justin Upton. Victor Martinez hit 3 home runs in Game 1 on Thursday. It's the second time he has accomplished that in his long career. He's done very little since. And Royals got him to ground into 2 double plays in the game last night. He had been out for 4 days with a bruised knee, and that time off paid off. First pitch he saw on Thursday, he hit for a home run and then added 2 more in the game.
Yeah, that was obviously one of the most impressive appearances that I've ever seen him in a game. I mean, for him to ambush Duffy like that on the first pitch and then turn around on the other side and get a couple more was impressive. Young, you know, that he throws that slider up there to set up the fastball, and so far early in this one he's getting some late life, something he was missing his first few starts before he went on the disabled list, and that's what they call a little bit of late hop at the end of the pitch. Coming out of that deceptive 6'10" frame, he throws underneath the ball, he kind of short arms it. It's very deceptive for hitters to try to pick up that fastball. That's why he's been so effective in his career.
And some late life on that fastball. He just simply reached back and threw it by him. And it's Chris Young's first strikeout.
Lots of times a hitter will tell you what the pitcher's got. You can see he was way behind that. It was a fastball right down the middle. But whether he's thinking or trying to do something more with it, no, we don't know that. But when you're a hitter that's behind an 88-mile-an-hour fastball, there's something going on there. A hitter of his caliber.
And a slider strike to Nick Castellanos. Five out of 11 in this series with a home run. off of Salvi's mask.
Oof. And whenever we see that with our slow motion camera, you see how everything shakes. From the bars to the mask to the helmet to the glasses. It's quite a shock to take a shot like that.
Still 0-2.
Almost looks like the Tampa Bay Rays, the Tigers uniform today, especially with Castellanos blue socks, pants bloused up at the knees, all that color blue.
That is the official color for prostate cancer research and awareness. Opposite pink,
right,
which makes us remember breast cancer awareness on Mother's Day. Slider struck him out. Two down in the second inning.
See how he stays on the side of that ball like most guys. They try to get it to run and dance a little bit down. Got away with one up.
A reminder as you enjoy a cold one to look forward to Miller Time later in today's game, brought to you by Miller Lite. Two down to Justin Upton, and the Tigers hope that his bat is starting to come around. He has hit safely in 8 straight, still batting .235. He has hit just 6 home runs, but 2 of those have been in this series. He had an impressive home run late in the game last night. On the ground to Cuthbert. 6 up and 6 down for the Tigers against Chris Young. We are participating in the home run challenge to benefit prostate cancer research. Going into the final day, $1,775,000 has been raised, and you can still make a pledge by going to homerunchallenge.org. Royals scored 16 runs last night and did so without hitting a home run. Salvador Perez Hit it off the end of the bat, and Maben will make the play in center field. That's the third highest total of runs in Royals history without hitting a home run. The Royals back in 1995 scored 18 runs at Milwaukee without a home run.
Well, you know, that's a byproduct of this offense. That's a characteristic the Royals offense the last 3 or 4 years have had. They've never hit for a lot of power, but they frenzy hit, man, and it's one lousy single gets contagious, and there they go. They all start hitting.
Kendrys Morales with one out. Speaking of power, our Kubota power stats. Morales has a 7-game hitting streak. He's hitting well over 400. 4 extra base hits, 10 runs driven in during that 7-game streak, and that includes 5 in last night's game. He has also reached base in 10 of his last 11 plate appearances, so it's not just hits, but seeing the ball better, as you pointed out a couple of nights ago. And when he's not getting his pitch, he is more willing to take a walk than he was in the first 2 months.
You're right, and as many times and opportunities as we have to watch this team on a daily basis, I can kind of give you my opinion on why a guy's struggling, but just to make sure, I asked Dale Swain. I said, seems to me he's being more selective and more patient. He says, yeah, you know what, he's was pressing a little bit early in the season. He wanted people to believe that he was the silver slugger of last year this year. And so he was over swinging, and as a result, they weren't throwing him anything to hit. So now he's making them throw strikes by taking.
Wind is blowing out toward left. Not enough as Upton backpedals onto the warning track. So 2 down, and now Paulo Orlando. Paulo Orlando has 8 hits in the first 3 games of the Tigers, and he has hit .625 during this homestand against 2 of the best teams in the division.
Yeah, you know, when you look at his numbers, it's impressive. I keep looking down and seeing how many at-bats does he have now? This guy's a player.
3 up, 3 down against Zimmerman in the bottom of the 2nd. Only hit and base runner so far. Now Cetus Escobar double in the bottom of the 1st inning. Steven Moya, James McCann, and Jose Iglesias coming up against Chris Young. First pitch, and the Tigers take a 1-0 lead Chris Young has given up his 19th home run of the year and his major league most 17 against left-hand batters.
Interesting. Including that home run there, that's each of the last 14 have all been solo shots. And for Moya, congratulations. His first major league homer, belt high, and exactly what he was looking for in the video room. He's looking at that high fastball, and his 6'6" against 6'10", he was able to get to that one.
Here's James McCann, and he bunts it back into the netting. Moya wasn't even with the Tigers when the series began. He was the call-up when JD Martinez broke his elbow colliding with the right field wall. Slider. And it's 0-2 against McCann. McCann hit one of the 6 Tiger home runs on Thursday night. Still trying to get his batting average above 200. When the series began, he was hitting 188.
That's the only night in this series that the Tigers have shined. That was a hanging curve from Hoach.
Paulo Orlando started back, and he's there for the out. The Viva Los Reales event celebrating Hispanic heritage will be at Kauffman Stadium next Saturday. The Astros will be in town. Before the game, there will be live theme music and dancing on the Outfield Experience stage, and local restaurants that will compete for the title of Best Salsa in KC next Saturday. Get your tickets at Royals.com. Jose Iglesias. That'll be out of play. No balls and 2 strikes. Iglesias lost a 14-game hitting streak in Game 2 of the series. That was the longest hitting streak in the major leagues at the time. Had him reaching. Dyson out in center field today will make the play. 2 outs.
That's the Chris Young right there that they're looking for. We were just getting ready to talk about how the Tigers' left-handed hitters this year haven't hit a lot of homers, and that would help Young. And then right as we were about ready to show that to you, that's when Moya hit his first career home run, major league homer off of him.
And now the leadoff hitter, Cameron Maybin. He went too far. We were talking about Maybin when he batted in the first inning, and when he got to the big leagues as a 20-year-old back in 2007, and then the Tigers used him to get Miguel Cabrera. He went to the Marlins in that deal to get Miguel Cabrera. Now they're teammates in Detroit.
It's got to make Maybin feel pretty special.
Two balls, 2 strikes. You know who else was part of that trade and at the time was thought of as an underachiever?
I don't know.
Andrew Miller.
Wow.
Who bounced around and finally found success as a reliever. Now one of the elite closers in the game. Maybin got a slider up, so he'll be on with 2 down. And now back where it all started, Cameron Maybin back with the Tigers.
He's a talented young man. He's been able to keep himself in good shape, but mainly when when you're going through a rough patch where you're not getting a lot of big league action, you can't give up on yourself. He didn't. He's always believed he could become that everyday guy.
Mike Aviles lined out to Paulo Orlando in the first inning.
Maybe 7 out of 10 in steals. And they're going to be going.
And Young, he almost went too soon.
Right. Young takes his time getting the ball home. I mean, not intentionally, but he's not worried about the base stealers.
Very close. Angel Hernandez is the first base umpire.
Yep. If you get to, you know, messing around with Salvi, he takes that personal. If you have too big of a secondary lead, he has the weapons. That transfer from glove to hand is thief-like. You can't even see the transfer is so fast. Not even our slow motion camera couldn't catch it.
You know, that's something that isn't brought up enough. You know, Salvador Perez's strong arm and how close he comes to picking guys off. But your point is a good one. It limits the secondary lead. How many double plays have the Royals gotten as a result of a smaller lead at first base?
Shortening up.
Now Maben runs, and Salvador could tell that the jump was not worth throwing on. So Maben's at second base with 2 down. Number 8 for Cameron Maben this year.
No need to waste the shot.
Three balls, 1 strike. Open base, but Miguel Cabrera's on deck. Got him to chase one out of the strike zone. And by Aviles' reaction, looking up into the sky in frustration, realized that he should be at first base right now.
Well, he's looking who's hitting behind him. And Aviles telling himself, hey, he's going to throw me a strike here for sure. I'm going to hit. I'm swinging. He'll be in swing mode here too.
That'll be out of play.
Aviles a big league hitter, but typically a guy that hits lower in the lineup and doesn't have the opportunity to hit in front of one of the greatest hitters of all time. So he knows that Young sees Miguel Cabrera back there, and he's going, I'm going to give him another fastball. He's in swing mode.
Out to Merrifield. So Young comes back after falling behind 3-1. Steven Moya hits his first major league home run. Tigers take a 1-0 lead on this Father's Day at Kauffman Stadium. been fostering children for many years. Rick has consistently been there for the kids by doing everything from loads of laundry to taking kids on visits with their biological parents. An outstanding father and role model for children in and out of their home. Rick has positively impacted many children and served as a great support for other foster families as well. And Rick is sitting in the Buck O'Neil legacy seat at today's game.
Great job, Rick. Way to teach those young people how to do chores around the house. Need a man to step up and show them.
Breaking ball strike from Jordan Zimmermann to Brett Eibner.
My mom, she would leave me and my two brothers a list before she went to work, and I'd throw the list away when I was done with the chores. And when she got back home from work, she'd say, "Where's the list?" I'd say, "Well, I threw it away." "Now get me the list here." And then she would take me and go over each thing.
And then it would become a checklist, huh?
Exactly. And then that's to make sure that we did it right. She wanted the job done correctly.
1-2 on Brett Eibner. Eibner in game 1 hit his first major league home run and hit it off of Justin Verlander. He has driven in 3 in the series. 2 balls and 2 strikes. On the ground to Iglesias. 1 away.
Haven't been able to show you yet this early in the game what this young man Jordan Zimmermann pitches and his pitches and what they're like. Fastball, slider, curve, and change. Most pitchers throw a majority of their fastballs, so they're going to have a higher average against, but his slider's been a good one. Not doing too much on that curveball either.
And he really tied up Cuthbert with a fastball running in on his hands. Good fastball over the outside, and it's 0-2. One and 2. Talking about chores and working hard. Jordan Zimmermann, they say, is as hard a worker as anybody. And oftentimes those roots are from a childhood, and for Zimmermann, he grew up working on his grandparents' farm in rural Wisconsin, and his attitude was there were no days off.
Stay fair, please. Oh man, had the distance.
That's a tough call because that ball was hit so high it went over the foul pole.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. They can review that, but didn't see Wakamatsu leave that top step of the dugout.
Fouled away.
You know, that type of swing that Cuthbert hit, that ball over the foul pole right there was an off speed, a big curveball, but you can see he took his top hand off and he just had a good follow through. He caught it just right. You know, we've talked about the curveball spin before, and when the hitter hits it underneath it, it just continues to spin and the ball jumps, and it's got a little bit of jump to it.
Fair ball. Castellanos on a bounce gets it to Cabrera for the out.
Cuthbert getting a little bit of his own medicine right there. That's a nice play. Don't have time to get a big load on your hips and throw it away, but he just went off balance and used the grass. Too hot to Cabrera. he didn't have a chance to load up on that backside and get some momentum going forward. So a little one hopper. Went out and picked it.
Two down to Gerard Dyson. He thought about bunting and then almost took one off the left kneecap.
Yeah, hello. That was close.
1-1. Dyson has had just one plate appearance in this series and just 7 on the homestand, with Paul Orlando playing the way he's playing. Whit Merrifield's played a little bit of the outfield, and Brett Eibner, coming back from the disabled list, has cut into his playing time.
Yeah. And you know what? You got it. This is a performance-based business. There's a lot of competition. And Ned's going to go with the hot hand like most managers do.
Dyson is playing in center field today, as Lorenzo Cain is just getting a day off, and with the scheduled off day tomorrow, he'll get 2 days off of his feet. So for now, he's a spectator and a cheerleader. Dyson is down on strikes. Zimmerman has struck out 2 in 3 scoreless innings.
Happy Father's Day, and a happy Father's Day to Salvador Perez, who is the father of Salvador Perez Jr., little 4-year-old, and Salvi will become a father for the 2nd time in September. His fiancee, Maria Gabriela Ruiz, expecting a baby boy September 13th. They will name him Johan Salvador Perez. As for guys, little Salvi Jr. there, he calls him Salvi, 4 years old. He said, "Catching is too tough, Papa. I just want to play first in DH." Salvi says that the little guy, Junior, he only likes to hit. And he's playing T-ball, and he doesn't want to hit off a tee. He just wants to swing the bat. I saw the swing. It's pretty legit, guys.
That's pretty good. Play first base and DH. What a life. There's a lot of work what his poppy does, though, sitting on your knees like that, taking foul tips off your basket, going 100 miles an hour. I mean, I don't blame the child.
Miguel Cabrera walks on 4 straight pitches. It's Chris Young's first. And it's easy to think about Chris Young on a professional or personal side today. His first Father's Day without his father, and pitched a game in September last year we will never forget. Having found out his dad had passed away the night before, he was given the option of being with his family in Dallas or pitching as he was scheduled to pitch in a game against the Indians. And with all those emotions, he took the mound and threw 5 hitless innings. September 27th of last season.
Yep, I remember he cruised right through him. Said his father would have wanted him to stay there and pitch and not miss his turn in the rotation. This guy's a dedicated pro. A world champion, by the way. And this guy's got a lot of pride. A lot of pride in what he does. He competes. You know what? You're competing against the world's greatest hitters. So, yeah, they're going to touch you up when you don't have an overpowering fastball. But his location is of the utmost importance when you're not overpowering. Sometimes you're going to get hit. But to keep your team in the game, only giving up 1 or solo home runs, that'll do it. Keep your team in the game.
Victor Martinez struck out swinging at a fastball in the second inning. He is one of many hitters in the Tigers lineup that's had a bad time against Chris Young. Paulo Orlando goes into right center field. 1 away in the 4th inning. Nick Castellanos with 1 down. He struck out swinging at a slider in his first at bat. Castellanos is another hitter who's had a tough time against Chris Young. The hitters that stand out the most in struggling against Chris Young, there's one of them, Miguel Cabrera, Victor Martinez, and Nick Castellanos, which has happened to be the 3, 4, and 5 hitters in the Tigers lineup. Chased a high fastball and fouled it away. 0-2.
Young only has induced 1 ground ball double play. You can see where Salvi's target is. He's not looking for the double play ball. Young is a fly ball pitcher and he's going to stay on his game. You try to start aiming down in the strike zone, they're going to make more contact and find more holes possibly.
Again, it's a slider that strikes out Castellanos. And Chris Young has 3 strikeouts today.
You see the little dot on that baseball? When you could see that as a hitter, and so only for a brief second, but you see that little dot, you know it's a slider. All that rotation. Dad, way to go.
Yeah, and if it wasn't Father's Day, I'm not sure she lets Dad have a sip of that icy.
That's right, it's a big sip too.
Up and away to Justin Upton. Upton grounded out to Cuthbert in the second inning. It's not a hard rule, but generally speaking, hitters who hold their hands high are good high ball hitters. And the vice versa, hitters that have their hands low are good low ball hitters. And I bring that up because Upton has good numbers against Chris Young. And that's a clear path for him if he's chasing fastballs up, to have his hands up above his ear.
Yeah, it is. It's really it's an easier shot. Plus the bat. If he has to hold it upright, it's a little bit different. But when you get a flatter bat, like he's got right there, there's only one move to make, and that's take your hands right to the ball, cut down, eliminate the extra movement. It's kind of like a pitcher will do when he goes from the stretch only. Eliminates all the big wind-up mechanical stuff. So he's already ready to hit. Just got under that.
Eibner to the line, and he's got it. So Chris Young works around the leadoff walk. Top of the order coming up for the Royals. The Tigers lead 1-0 to the bottom of the fourth. Even Moya home run. All right, Royals fans, remember you can vote up to 35 times online for the Royals, including a maximum of 5 ballots cast in any 24-hour period. Vote at Royals.com on your computer, tablet, and smartphone. So let's lock in Lorenzo Cain, Eric Hosmer, and Salvador Perez. They were leading at their positions the last time the recent votes were released. All-Star game is July 12th from San Diego, and you can see it on Fox. Merrifield drops down a bunt, and it's foul. Right idea. He had Castellanos deep at third.
Well, when he does drag bunt down the line, he's either on the line or foul, and that's what you want. You teach that, because now you have another shot. We've seen a few bunts that are over towards the pitcher, and the pitcher picks it up and throws you out. So in order to have the ball do that, you really have to emphasize the top hand with the head of that bat. You got to get that down the third base line.
Zimmerman got him on 3 straight pitches in the first inning, struck him out with a slider away.
Slider's an excellent pitch to bunt.
This time a fastball on 0-2.
It's only the 4th inning.
Well, if the little ones get restless, just take them for a little walk around the ballpark. That is behind the batter's eye in center field. Base hit right field. Merrifield goes the other way. Down in the count. That gives him an 8-game hitting streak, and he has now hit safely in each of his 14 starts at Kauffman Stadium.
See, that pitch was on the inner half, and it had a lot of hair on it, a lot of run on that fastball, and he's just wanting to get on base, kept his hands inside of it. Since he's been in that leadoff hole, they've found their guy. He can bunt, he can do hits like that. That's what you like out of your leadoff hitter. He's got good speed, he runs, he hustles. This guy's just a good baseball player. That's all there is to it. Smart, fundamentally sound. And he will rip you off. if you don't pay him much attention. It's 4 out of 5 in steals. And Zimmerman has allowed 5 out of 8 stolen bases. But we all know that James has a McCannon behind the plate.
So Zimmerman's one of the guys who has not helped him out this year. Well, a side spin, Aviles to Iglesias, and they still turn the double play. Now that ball wasn't hit hard, Hud, but you've played the infield. That a ball that comes off the bat of an opposite field hitter, so a right-hand batter to the right side. All that side spin can present some problems.
It's tricky. You got to square that up in the center of your glove. If it hits one of the fingers on to the left or right, and with that spin, it'll just spin right off. Aviles with a nice start to the double play there. He just opened up his hips and flipped it over there to second base. It's a good turn.
That's a second double play for the Tigers today. The first one, Eric Hosmer hit a fly ball to shallow right field. Alcides Escobar was at second base. Escobar, it didn't look like he lost track of the outs because he hesitated. It looked like he believed that ball was going to drop, so he dashed home from second base with one out, and Tigers turned that into a double play after Moya made the catch. And now Zimmerman has a 3-pitch strikeout of Hosmer. 1-0 Tigers at the end of 4. The only run so far. 1-0 Detroit. And it'll be Steven Moya leading off the 5th inning. The Tigers are hoping for a 4-game split. The Royals are hoping to take 3 out of 4 in this series after beginning the homestand by sweeping the Indians. Steven Moya jumped on the first pitch, a first pitch fastball, and hit it into the bleachers past the Tigers bullpen in right field. Salvador Perez sets up outside, and a slider is whacked into right center field. Third straight inning that the Tigers have had their leadoff man on, or at least hit safely. Our T-Mobile greater coverage of baseball. Next weekend, the Astros will be here. At the moment, the Astros are at home playing the Reds. And look at the 3 pitchers that they have faced. The 3 starting pitchers, John Lamb, Cody Reed, and Brandon Finnegan. Those were the 3 lefties that the Royals sent to Cincinnati to get Johnny Cueto at the trading deadline last year.
Yeah. Gave a lot of pitchers away, and most of them were lefties. It worked. The Royals got their 2nd world title.
And they also gave up a lefty to get Ben Zobrist. Sean Manaea going to Oakland. James McCann flied out to right field in the 3rd inning. Out in front of a slider. 0-2. McCann strikes out. That's 4 for Chris Young.
Young gets some strikeouts. He gets the guys looking up, and then all of a sudden he brings him down with that slider. That's his double pitch combination he uses.
Fly ball pitcher, strikeout pitcher, and that's played out today. The Tigers have only made 2 outs on the ground. Moya at first base, 1 out, and now Jose Iglesias. And Chris Young is convinced that at some point Steven Moya is going to run. He's faked a couple of throws over there, now does throw over. And Iglesias, to add to a potential play here, would be a candidate to hit and run. And again, a throw over there. Tigers run a lot more under Brad Ausmus as manager. They've had power in their lineup for a long time, but in the final season for Jim Leyland, and that's 2013, the Tigers stole 36 bases the whole year. They never ran. Moya is running. The pitch is swung on and miss, and Moya is out. So it could have been a hit and run as Iglesias chased a pitch that was out of the strike zone. 2 down.
Look at that big smile. Salvi saying, "You can't run on me." Now the pitch was up and way out of the zone. That's a good thing, because that was a hit and run.
Yeah, he looked like he was trying to hit the ball to the right side.
Before that throw, or before that caught stealing there, Perez now is 45.2%. Throwing runners out. Right on the money.
Iglesias has chased 3 fastballs up and out of the strike zone, still 1-2.
I think he earned himself a slider. Coming now. Young will get that hitter in the swing mode at that pitch right below the letters, and then he'll drop it down on him. There she does. There she goes.
2 more strikeouts. Young has struck out 5 in his 5 innings.
Way to set him up.
1-0 lead. Salvador Perez leads off, and Kia puts us in the driver's seat. Salvador Perez has hit in 10 straight games. He has driven in 10 and has 5 home runs and 9 runs scored.
10 RBIs have all been, most of them have been critical RBIs, crucial. Breaking the back of their opponent with those long towering shots he's been hitting. And he's also waiting, you know, in certain situations and driving that ball to right field, especially with runners on. He's really stepping up, becoming a run producer. Ed has no trouble with Lorenzo Cain getting a breather today, hitting him in that cleanup spot. You have numbers like that, you're a run producer.
Perez leads all American League catchers in home runs, batting average, RBIs, slugging percentage, and hits.
And you put on top of it the fact the guy plays with a joyful spirit and has so much fun with his teammates, with his Salvi splash and all that. No wonder the rest of the country's catching on to Salvi, and he's got more votes than anybody else in the All-Star game.
Reaches out and pulls a slider to Iglesias at short. 1 down. Time for today's Sprint Trivia question. 3 of the 4 3-generation Major League families have been associated with the Royals. Okay, there have been 4 different 3-generation families in Major League Baseball, and 3 of them have associations with the Royals. Kendrys Morales lines it to right field. Moya cuts it off, and Kendrys will hold with a 1-out single. He is 1 for 2.
The spell he went through a little bit earlier, those pitches were down and he was swinging at them. Now he's able to recognize a pitch that stays up now. This is interesting how when you get in a groove, you're seeing pitches better. And you're seeing them up in the zone, not down.
Belted to deep left field. Paulo Orlando hits it off the fence. It's the second time in the game that a Royal has just missed a home run. And Paulo Orlando continues to get first pitch strikes and continues to hammer those first pitches. He's moving up on hitting 600 when he puts a first pitch in play.
Yeah, you know, it's just all a mindset. He's sitting on first pitches. He's saying, hey, look, I know that guy's trying to get ahead of me, and I'm not going to let him. Too bad he didn't get under that a quarter of an inch. That would have been way out of here. Good stroke, though. Set him up here for a first legitimate opportunity to get a run across the plate. Eibner with a good chance if he puts the ball in play up the middle. Even on the ground, he's going to pick up 1 run, but he wants to pick up Paulo as well. That'll work.
Morales comes down from third. Royals tie the game as Eibner drives in his 6th. Orlando stays at second base. Academy Sports and Outdoors leaderboard. Remember all the trouble the Royals had in April not doing what they have done so well in the previous 2 seasons, hitting with runners in scoring position. Well, since May 1st, the Royals are the best in the American League and second only to the Cardinals in the major leagues by 5 points. Another category where the Royals really thrived last year with runners in scoring position and 2 outs.
That goes along with their frenzy hitting attack style. They put the ball in play, just like Eibner did right there to pick up the run. But also early in the season, you know, when things aren't going good on the mound or at the plate, you know, that's when you just kind of say, look, their track record shows they're going to do it. In this game, it just takes time. And that's what we're witnessing.
Just missed. 1 ball, 1 strike. Cheslor Cuthbert grounded out to third in his first at bat. But the at bat began with him being down 0-2, and he got the count to 3-2. Here's the 1-1, and now 1 ball and 2 strikes. And I bring that up because Cheslor was having a lot of success when he was first called up, and then he was putting himself in bad hitters' counts, and pitchers were putting him away. And lately now, even though he's been down in the count, he's shown much better plate discipline and gotten himself back into the count.
And that comes with everyday reps, getting everyday at bats. He's getting more comfortable by seeing pitches, and also he comes to the ballpark knowing he's playing. He's a third baseman, so his mind is right. But he'd like to pick that average with runners in scoring position up. It's just 205. He can do that here with a single.
Pretty good rip at a fastball.
And yeah, he wasn't looking to go the opposite field there. He was looking to get it all.
He's not quite Adrian Beltre, but he really does use his lower half when he swings. You know, Beltre will go down to a knee. His knee will touch the dirt. Cuthbert doesn't quite do that, but he really drives with that back leg.
Yeah, you got to have a good, strong foundation to hit. No doubt about it.
Cabrera goes into foul ground, looking up into the sun, and makes a play. With 1 out, Kendrys Morales singles. Paulo Orlando just misses a home run. He picks up a double. And Brett Eibner's ground out to short ties the game at 1 in the bottom of the 5th. Royals baseball is brought to you by Chevy. Visit your local Kansas City area Chevy dealer for great prices on the all-new 2016 Malibu. By Panera Bread, food as it should be with 24 KC Metro locations. And by Academy Sports and Outdoors, right stuff, low price every day. Cameron Maben takes ball 1. It is Sunday, so Sundays with Denny. Happy Sunday, Denny.
Happy Father's Day.
Thank you.
To you guys.
Thank you.
Or as Ralph Kiner once said famously in New York, broadcasting a Mets game, a beautiful day at Shea Stadium. It's Father's Day, so happy birthday to all you dads.
Slider for a strike, and it's 1-2 on Cameron Maybin. Top of the order, Maybin, Aviles, and Cabrera. I guess about as good as we've seen Chris Young in a long time.
Pretty sharp so far, mixing pitches well, hitting spots. I thought he began last time out to find it. He'd been off for 10 days, remember, for his last start. So started to put it together, I thought, and perhaps today it's all coming together. He's pitched well.
He's got the bite on his slider, and as Hud was talking about in the early innings, he really seems to have that late life with his fastball. Pitches that would appear to be hittable toward the middle of the strike zone, and that other than Steven Moya, the Tigers aren't getting around on it.
Yep. And Ned Yost referred to it as a finish pitch, finishing his pitch. And he's setting up hitters. Him and Salvi are getting them in the swing mode at high fastballs, and then he's dropping the slider on them. I like how they're working together today.
Yeah, the best example of that was the high fastball that he threw to Iglesias on the, well, what it was an aborted hit and run play. Ended up and out at second base. And yeah, his pitches up are pretty difficult for most of those guys to make contact with. It's a good outing so far.
Two and one to Aviles. Now, of course, teams won't tell us their secrets, but it seemed like this year that certain offenses were looking for the fastball up. Aviles drives that into deep right center field, but Dyson is on it, and he makes a play. You can imagine when trying to figure out what to do against Chris Young that a hitting coach would say, okay, look, this guy will pitch up in the strike zone and slightly out of the strike zone. Make him get the ball down. But we've seen some teams on a first pitch maybe taking that scouting report and turning it upside down and saying, you know what, he's going to pitch you up, so look for the pitch up.
Yeah. I believe that's how a lot of offensive hitting coaches have been telling their guys. I totally agree with that this year.
0-1 on Miguel Cabrera. He has flied to center and walked, and a walk is about as good as he's going to do in his career against Chris Young. 2 for 21, so he's hitting .095. That's the lowest average for him against any pitcher in his career. 1 ball and 1 strike. Any pitcher where he's had at least 20 at bats. So that's saying something against Miguel Cabrera.
With only 1 homer out of the 2 hits.
One and two.
One of the big reasons he's such an effective hitter. Look at the defense. Straight away. Uses the whole field.
Even in today's shift-minded world.
Exactly.
2 balls, 2 strikes.
Who's tougher to defend and who's tougher to pitch against? A dead pull hitter or a hitter who uses the entire field?
Guy who uses the entire field to drive you crazy, especially if you're trying to defend him on the infield. Edgar Martinez was the best right-handed hitter I ever had to defend against, and you know, he would hit to every situation. So playing second base, I would take a couple of steps to my left thinking, okay, he's going to try to move the runner over here, less than 2 outs or nobody out, and a runner at second base. I'd move over a couple steps and he hit it just a few more feet past me. But he was thinking that way, and I was thinking with him, but we didn't have drastic shifts back then. And I would shift on my own, as a lot of players do, pertaining on in the at bat how the hitter's swinging and how the pitcher's pitching him. So you can kind of tell. So you'll move 1 or 2 steps to the right or left, infield or outfield, depending on the sequence of pitches and what the hitter looks like he's trying to do.
Smart hitters don't miss anything. I'm not talking about pitches necessarily. I'm talking about, number 1, what the pitcher's trying to do to him, and number 2, what the defense is set up to defend. So, and a smart hitter will work against that. Edgar was pretty smart.
Oh,
This is why little Salvador Perez doesn't want to be a catcher.
Yep. Thankfully that wasn't hit off of his mask. It just hit off of his chest.
Still 2-2. Struck him out on what are typically hittable pitches in that part of the strike zone to Miguel Cabrera. It's a 7 strikeout performance for Chris Young so far in a 1-1 tie. "86 pitches appears to be it for Chris Young. Handshakes, pats on the back, high fives, and he gives up just 1 run on 3 hits. And now the Royals will try and earn him a victory by taking the lead in the bottom of the 6th inning. Gerard Dyson will lead off our Sonic Slam inning. Roy Watts from Shawnee is our contestant. Dyson pulls it foul. If the Royals hit a home run in this inning, Roy wins $200. If the Royals hit a grand slam out of the park, Roy Watts wins $25,000 from Sonic and the Royals. Dyson, Merrifield, and Escobar against Jordan Zimmerman. Dyson struck out looking at a fastball in the 3rd inning. Tigers got a solo home run from Moya in the 3rd. The Royals got an RBI ground out from Eibner in the 5th.
Yeah, I was going to say, time to set up that table with the speed guys here, huh, Denny? Get some rabbits on, get a little action going, get some runs off this guy, and then get to the best bullpen in the American League out there.
Sounds like a good recipe to me. Now do it.
Iglesias charges, throws, and out. 1 down. Time for a Mazda game break, and let's go to Joel.
All right, Ryan, we'll take a look at the Indians and the White Sox in our premier Mazda game break. That would be Juan Uribe. Follows up a Melky Cabrera home run that gave the White Sox the lead with a solo shot of his own. Good pitchers duel there for a while between Carlos Carrasco and Carlos Rodon. It's to the bullpens now, all tied at 2.
Good to see Juan Uribe back in there. 0-1 on Whit Merrifield. Whit has struck out and singled. He is down in the count 0-2, as he was in the first inning when he struck out on 3 pitches, and when he singled to right in the 4th inning. That was an 0-2 pitch.
You know, guys, the Royals could have 2 home runs. Escobar and Orlando both hit the ball extremely hard to left field, but with a lot of overspin. And they were sinking line drives. Escobar hit the fence, what, 2-3 feet from a home run, and Orlando just hit the daylights out of that one, but you could just see the ball diving, and you could tell that just by the trajectory it was not going to go out. A little underspin, if you want to put it that way, and there's 2 home runs.
As soon as both of those balls are hit, I thought they were gone, especially on a day like today with the heat and the wind blowing out to left field.
I'm with you.
Iglesias again.
Well, that's not working.
Boy, he's good.
Yeah, and
he is really
big
good.
league shortstops make that play almost 10 out of 10 times.
Yeah. And the play that he made on Dyson was a very, very difficult play because of the speed. He made it look pretty easy.
He did, and Denny, what he does so well is he's quick with his release. He brings it up into throwing position, and he gets rid of it so quickly with a lot on it that really cuts down the time.
Yeah, if he only had a coach on the staff of the Tigers that could give him some good tips, but Omar Vizquel, what's he know about playing shortstop?
Well, yeah, you're right. I mean, he only won 11 Gold Gloves, so poor Jose Iglesias.
You would need a room, just one room, to house all of his Gold Gloves.
And that was Alcides Escobar's idol when he was growing up in Venezuela, Omar Vizquel.
And Esky just got his first, so only 10 more to go. Esky.
Maben fighting the sun, using his right hand and his sunglasses to shade his eyes, and we'll use that miss to shade Kelly out in center field. 1-1 tie. And as we promised earlier in the game, it's Miller time, brought to you by Miller Lite.
Great to see Chris Young get out there, grab the ball, and just get quick outs. He's really done it with hardly any mistakes or one pitch home run, but doing exactly what Dave Island wants him to do, keep his team in the game. This game right here is, they're in it because of Young executing his pitches up in the zone and down. Denny, I thought he did a marvelous job.
I would agree, and it's got to be really heartening to him. I was riding in this morning on the golf cart from the parking lot with Chris, and I said, first thing I said to him was, boy, it's a great day to pitch. And he said, I think so too. But he didn't say much. He's one of those guys, you know, he's as amiable as anybody you'll meet, very talkative, and he wasn't saying a whole lot. We talked briefly, and he jumped out of the cart and took off rather quickly, and he said, have a good day, see you later. And away he went. He was really a guy with a purpose when he got out of that golf cart, and I thought, hey, you know, he can pitch pretty good today.
One hop to Merrifield, and from shallow right he throws out Victor Martinez. All right, Denny, I don't know if you saw the monitor in the radio booth, but here's our Sprint trivia question for today. There have been 4 different 3-generation teams in the major leagues, and 3 of the 4 have a Royals connection.
Boone and Bell.
Boone and Bell, those are the first 2 I got. Hairston was the other one, but there is no Royals connection. Hosmer into foul ground. Takes care of Nick Castellanos.
Got to communicate, especially on those balls in between first and home, or third and home. Oz has priority over all of them. And that's the guys in the dugout yelling, "You're all right, you're all right." Got to have that in any business. Communication. You know,
I just thought of the third one, by the way.
I was going to let you guys.
It's not Rusty.
You guys handle that question. You don't need me to throw names that try to stick that never stick.
Casey Coleman. Father and grandfather played. Now there's and there you go. The Bells, the Boones, and the Colemans. JoJo Casey. That sounds like that should be someone's name, but it's the Colemans. It's kind of a stretch, but these are all grandfather, father, son, but there's also a grandfather, father, nephew 3-generation, and that'd be the Schofields. Dickie Schofield, Dick Schofield, and then Jason Worth is Dick Schofield's nephew. So it's a stretch, but that's 3 generations. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
And a lot of father sons, of course, McRae's. Go on and on with that. That was fun. Wathans. Seeing Brian McRae as a little guy just running out around on the field when his dad Hal was the Royals DH. That's a big advantage for a young guy. You had that advantage, Ryan. Your dad was big league player, manager, and you were able to get in the clubhouse, on the field, dugout. So
and we got to see one recently here, Dan, when Tony Pena was manager, and little Francisco would come out and take batting practice. And not only did he get to the big leagues, but got his first big league hit with the Royals, and now he's the backup catcher for the Orioles.
But think about what the memories that those children of their fathers carry. Like Ryan. Ryan's got great stories of when he was bat boying, hanging around the Dodgers, and all those guys. That's wonderful. That's what it's all about.
My dad was the first All-American baseball player at Illinois State University. So he taught myself and my 3 youngest brothers love of the game, and in some way, shape, or form, dads and moms have a tremendous influence on athletic careers, no matter how far they go. It's really cool.
Spent some time with Dayton Moore, our weekly radio interview with him, and you know, his son Robert is a really good baseball player as well, and Robert's had the opportunity. I remember he was like 4 or 5 years old when Dayton joined the Royals, and seeing him around the ballpark all the time. That's a foul ball. 3 balls and 2 strikes. You've got a chance to see Robert play quite a bit, right?
Robert's a player. He's a machine.
He plays with Will.
McInside's Will played for him for a couple of seasons, and we needed to find William a more prominent spot in the lineup. And so we've moved him to BC. They're having fun. He had an 8 o'clock game today, but they all compete against each other, and it's really a good brand of baseball these kids play. I'm impressed. They're fundamentally sound. Especially Robert. He's a little machine. He's settled on second base, but he was catching for a little while, but that's going to be his position, second. Got quick feet, turns a nice double play, and he can rake. both sides of the plate.
And one final thought on all this on Father's Day: is there anything better? Pretty simple, but is there anything better than playing catch with your dad?
Well, many grown men were brought to tears with the final scene of Field of Dreams.
Yeah.
That whole story ended with father and son playing catch. Joakim Soria has a 1-2-3 top of the 7th inning. Thank you, Denny.
You are welcome.
1-1 tie. And before we go to break, on this Father's Day and before the 7th inning stretch, we will go down to the field for God Bless America. And this afternoon, it will be performed by Voices of Glory.
Performed by America's Got Talent Top 5 finalist and Branson's award-winning performers, Voices of Glory.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the ocean wide with foam. God bless America. God bless America. God bless America. God bless America, my home sweet home. God bless America, my home sweet home.
Royals baseball is brought to you by Ram. Come discover great deals during the Ram Drive and Discover event. Jordan Zimmermann has allowed 1 run in 6 innings today, and now in 2 starts against the Royals this year. He has given up 1 run in 12 1/3 innings, and his 1 run came in the 5th inning with 1 out. Morales singled. Paulo Orlando just missed a home run. He settled for a double, and with Morales at third, Brett Eibner's ground out got him to the plate. Well, now Zimmerman's ahead of Hosmer, no balls, 2 strikes.
He's been hitting his spots for the most part, especially against the Royals' tough hitters. And Haas, he's got that slider working in on Haas. Haas being aggressive, although he's given Eric some pitches to hit, and Haas just has missed him.
One ball and 2 strikes. Fastball up. It hasn't been a big strikeout game for Zimmerman, and he's not a big strikeout pitcher. That is his 4th. Remember to vote for the Royals Player of the Month at one of the 7 Rally House locations in the KC metro area. All participants will be entered to win a majestic prize pack. Pretty good candidate right here, and Salvador Perez on this homestand has hit 3 home runs and has driven in 8. Against the Tigers this year, Salvador Perez has driven in 9.
I'll be surprised if Zimmerman gives him anything up, any hard stuff up. He just started him with a fastball or slider away, and he's going to stay there. I'm not going to give him a cookie to hit out of the park. Pretty good job, Zimmerman, after as hot as the Royals offense has been Friday and Saturday nights. He's done an admirable job today.
And he's had mostly stress-free innings. And you can see that by his pitch count. Only the 5th inning did he have to deal with more than 1 base runner. So he spent quite a bit of the day pitching out of the windup. Morales trying to put the Royals in front with 1 swing, no balls and 1 strike. Morales singled and scored the Royals run in the 5th. And Kendrys has now reached base in 11 of his last 13 plate appearances.
Well, he's doing a good job on Morales as well, even though Kendrys got a base hit. He's staying inside with him, doesn't want him to get his arms extended, nothing out over the plate since he's been going to all fields now. So we're trying to stay in on him. Pitch to that defensive shift. The first couple of games they didn't show the shift on him. Now they're shifting him.
Mike Aviles throws him out. 7 innings for Zimmerman. He has thrown fewer than 80 pitches, by the way, and we're tied at 1.
Tigers tied up at 1, and there's action all around baseball as Panera takes us around the league. Cleveland and Chicago still tied up. Boston right now 1 better than Seattle. New York and Minnesota deadlocked. and Atlanta all over the Mets. That is where the Royals head for games on Tuesday and Wednesday. They will see Noah Syndergaard. Our premier Mazda game break sees Nick Markakis going deep off of Jacob deGrom, all Atlanta in this one. And so that should be a good series between the Royals and the Mets. Couple quick notes to pass on. Alex Gordon, a double in his first bat today in his rehab assignment in Northwest Arkansas. And guys, wanted to give a quick little congratulations to Tim Grunhart, the former chief, who's here today. He said his daughter Kaylee qualified for the Olympic qualifier in Omaha. So congratulations to the Grunhart family. Great swimmer.
Nice, Joel. Way to go.
Thank you, Joel. Kelvin Herrera will get the lower third of the order. Moya, McCann, and Iglesias. The Braves, by the way, swept the Mets in New York. Atlanta's won 5 in a row.
It's going to be a great showdown coming up this week.
Steven Moya swung at the first pitch from Chris Young in the third inning and hit his first big league home run to right field. That's the Tigers' only run. Brett Eibner has an RBI ground out. That was in the 5th inning. And that's the Royals' only run. One ball, one strike. Did you see what James Shields did yesterday in Chicago?
I did.
Allowing 8 runs in an inning and 2/3.
That's
ouch.
There's got to be something wrong with him physically.
So here's a note from Elias, which is a statistical company that Major League Baseball has used for years. Shields has now allowed 7 or more runs before the end of the 3rd inning in 4 straight starts. That has never happened before in Major League history.
Wow. That's unbelievable.
3 balls and 1 strike on Moya. 7 or more runs before the end of the 3rd inning.
Hard to figure that one.
Moya helped out Herrera there. That could have been ball 4. Chris Young went 6. He gave up the 1 run. Joakim Soria set down the Tigers in order in the 7th. And Ned Yost is pretty well set up with his bullpen as far as rest goes and with the day off tomorrow. Changeup struck him out. So Moya helped him out, getting the count to 3-2, and then Herrera puts him away.
Yeah, we had a special ceremonial first pitch yesterday before the game, Ryan. Our Ryan Ramshaw of the 190th Airborne Refueling Wing out of Topeka smiled as he threw from the rubber a left-handed throw strike. That's our friend. He threw to his good friend Drew Butera. And Butera, while Ryan has been battling cancer, got an autographed bat from the entire team and handed it to him in Houston and really warmed this young man's spirits up, man. Great job by all to make this kid Ryan Ramshaw a star from the hill as he threw a strike. And you know that kind of cancer he has is Ewing sarcoma, pediatric cancer, and only 200 cases in the U.S. a year. So we want to wish him well in his struggle and his battle, and the Royals help him. He gains a lot of his strength from watching these games, and he threw a beautiful strike.
Two down. Big strikeout day for Royals pitching. Chris Young had 7, and now Herrera has 2, so that's 9 in 8 innings.
It looked like a fastball coming out of his release point, but they can't pick up the slider in time, especially when he has 98-mile-an-hour fastball.
And Soria had 1, I beg your pardon. So 10 strikeouts for Royals pitching in 8 innings. 2 down to Jose Iglesias. 97 running in on his hands. 0-1.
There's a term they use in the pitching ranks, boring. It's a boring in fastball. It bores in with hard, and that kind of hard stuff is where you get that term from.
Just below the knees. 1 ball, 1 strike.
And this is always fun watching Herrera. Just so blessed, his arm. You know, that he has such a natural motion, makes it easy. Him, Ventura, guys that throw that hard make it look so effortless. Oh, you got no chance to bunt that pitch.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
1-2.
Good thought. It's hard to square up a bunt on it at 98. I'll tell you the confidence Iglesias has in himself.
After the Steven Moya home run in the 3rd inning, the Tigers had 2 hits in the 3rd inning. They've only had 1 hit against Royals pitching since that 3rd inning. Chris Young, Joaquim Soria, and Kelvin Herrera have now combined to set down the last 10 Tigers hitters. And 13 of the last 14. And the string continues. Herrera strikes out the side. Moya, McCann, and Iglesias.
Ooh, he's strong as a bull. That's why we call him El Toro.
Off the bottom of the 8th inning in a 1-1 tie. He turned in our Dodge drive of the game back in the 5th inning.
I'll say he did. A little top spin on the ball, kept it in the park, had it sunk down just at the wrong time, but he'll take his 9th double.
There's our friend Lily.
She is so sweet. That's her 2nd sign that she's made now for us.
Look at the size of that sign, too.
Man,
it's bigger than she is.
She's sweet. Thank you.
Well, we were telling you after Paulo's double, and that was on a first pitch. When he puts a first pitch in play, he is 19 for 33. So this time Zimmerman throws a strike, but it had a little wrinkle in it.
This guy's a clutch hitter here, especially late in the game.
Just foul.
Well, that would have worked.
That is 80 pitches for Zimmerman in 7 innings and 1 batter. That is so important, because look at the Tigers bullpen the last 2 games. I think Brad Ausmus would like to stay away from that bullpen as much as he can. 16 earned runs in the last 2 games, and that's in fewer than 7 innings. So Zimmerman is not only pitching well, but pitching efficiently.
Well, he has the pitches to do it. All 4 he's been using, but mainly his slider, curveball has been effective to keep him off of his fastball, and then he's been surprising a lot of hitters with that fastball. And he's took the mound today saying, I'm going to throw a CG. You can tell by his determination.
Which stands for complete game. Two balls, 2 strikes.
This is the right time to get a run. It's Wade Davis, he'll be in the 9th inning at home.
Paulo was the last Royal to reach after that double back in the 5th inning. Zimmerman set down the last 8. Still alive. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Paulo Orlando is 11 for his last 18.
You can tell by his swings. I mean, he's battling.
Foul.
Oh man, he's really. That's twice now he's almost gotten a double. Another one by that line.
How about Ted Barrett's footwork?
Pretty nifty.
First getting out of the way and then making the call.
He showed some style points there. Paulo went down and got it, hooked it. Anyway, Ted.
Three balls, 2 strikes. And the home plate umpire, Gabe Morales, you saw him react immediately, looking over at the Tiger dugout as they were screaming for an explanation as to why that wasn't called a strike.
It's important. Paulo, get on here. Ball 4, base hit.
Iglesias to the middle.
Not to that guy.
Day off tomorrow. The Royals will head to New York and play a 2-game series against the Mets. Tuesday night and Wednesday afternoon. Royals split a 2-game series with the Mets here to begin the season. Noah Syndergaard, who's going to have to bat against Ian Kennedy. And then in game 2, Bartolo Colon against Danny Duffy. And then the Royals are right back to Kansas City.
You said, well, Syndergaard, you almost make it sound like Syndergaard doesn't want to hit, but man, that guy can rake.
Eibner grounds out to second. So Zimmerman has set down the last 10 Royals.
When you have a reputation of being a strike thrower, hitters know that going up there. So why wait around? They're saying, I'm going to get that first fastball he's going to throw me. And as a result, it's kept his pitch count down low here, and he's been moving this game along. Not keeping his defenders out on the field in a hot day is a good thing.
Chesler is able to stop his swing in time. Cuthbert is grounded to third and fouled out to first. Over the inside, 1 ball, 1 strike. Great pitch.
Look at this guy with his command. As hot as it is, his 91st pitch, painting the corner still. This guy's stepping up. Zimmerman right on the corner. touch it.
He has retired the last 11 Royals. Wade Davis will have the top of the 9th and a 1-1 tie. Thousandth home game 2 nights ago, waving his rally flag.
Come on, I'm with you.
The next stop on the Royals Fan Express is St. Joe on June 25th. The Forever Royal Fan Express, as fans in designated markets will have the opportunity to win a trip to Kauffman Stadium. Go to Royals.com/Fan Express for more information. Wade Davis gets the top of the 9th and a 1-1 tie. And both pitchers, or both sides of the pitching, I should say, because for the Royals it's Young, Soria, and Herrera, have really shut down the opposing offense. Royals pitchers have retired the last 11 Tigers, and Jordan Zimmermann all by himself has retired the last 11 Royals. Top of the order for Detroit, beginning with Cameron Maybin. Bunting, a high fastball, and bunting it foul.
We haven't seen too many hitters trying to get a bunt base hit off of Davis. Maybin trying to get one there.
Maybin singled in the 3rd inning and stole second base without a throw. Look out. Wow. Very close. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
4-seam fastball is an effective pitch above the belt. He's got that cutter right there he threw down low. That's a good spot to leave it. He'll use it on the outer half of the plate as well. And the big curve there you just saw. 3 pitches. Good command with all of them. Davis, one of the best. Even though it's an unsafe situation, still doesn't matter to him. Wade Davis overall ERA 1.07. In a non-safe situation, 1.29.
You know, there are non-save situations and then there are low leverage situations. This is a non-save situation, but the game's on the line. Normally when we talk about non-save situations, it's a closer coming in a 5 or 6 run game just to get some work. So Davis can't get a save here, but this is not a let's just get some work type of appearance.
Not at all. And he's on top of his game here now, but he's got to let Maybin put the ball in play or strike him out. He can't afford to let him on. May have been one of their few base stealers.
Dyson into right center field. One out in the 9th inning. Wildcat fans, show your school pride. Next Friday, it's K-State night. The first 4,000 fans who bring their K-State theme ticket to the designated table will receive this special edition gray and purple branded KC cap, which includes the Power Cat logo, courtesy of Fox Sports Kansas City and Rally House. There's Jordan Zimmermann with fewer than 100 pitches. There is activity in the Tiger bullpen, and Ian Kinsler is going to bat for Mike Aviles with one down in the 9th inning. Aviles was 0 for 3. Sorry, Hud.
That's all right. Ian Kinsler 1 for 1. He's a pinch hitter with 1 RBI. Good. Catch it.
Witt fighting the sun and wins the fight.
Man, that was a tough one.
And Ian Kinsler, believe it or not, is 2 for 14 in this series.
Yeah, when I saw those numbers, I couldn't believe it. He's battling that sun, Merrifield. It's not easy. I mean, look, that's a high sky pop up there, and that ball gets little in a hurry. He stayed with it and watched it in his glove. That's important.
Two down to Miguel Cabrera. 19 at bats against Wade Davis. A .316 average with a couple of home runs. But since Wade Davis has moved to the back end of the Royals bullpen, Miguel Cabrera is 0 for 2.
Starting him off with a curve. Good spot.
Royals in the bottom of the 9th will have Dyson, Merrifield, and Escobar. Cutter. 2-1. Cabrera's walk back in the 4th inning is the only walk given up by a Royals pitcher today. They've really cleaned up that category. Curveball is down and in. Remember, most of the first couple months of the season, the Royals, if they didn't have the most walks in the American League as a pitching staff, it was the second most walks, and now they've walked only 7 hitters in the last 5 games. Royals pitching. Throws a 3-1 fastball right by him at 98.
Yep, that nice little four-seamer there. He likes to use that up, elevated even a little bit higher, but he just reared back and blew that by him.
.99. I mean, Wade Davis throws hard, but his throwing hard is usually 95, 96, maybe 97, and he's got 98, 99 with the last 2.
You talked about the sense of urgency in this situation. It's not a save situation, but man, the game is on the line. That adrenaline picks up, especially in front of over 34,000 here again.
Cutter.
Oh, man.
And Cabrera appeared as though either he lost the count or he was prepared to be called out on strikes, because he just stood there at home plate.
And this cut back over the plate, guess not.
So he's on for Victor Martinez. Martinez is 0 for 3 today and has just 1 hit since his 3 home runs against the Royals on Thursday. Curveball is low. That's overall against Wade Davis. But since Davis has moved to the back end of the bullpen, Victor Martinez is 0 for 3. Cutter, 1 ball, 1 strike.
And look at this now. You got interesting alignment here. You got Merrifield out in shallow right. Esky right over the bag. They've got him divided up evenly. You look at that, man. It's like, wow, all I got to do is make some contact. And you get a ball in through there, but they're playing deeper. He doesn't have a lot of speed. Neither one of these two guys that are in the Tigers uniform on the field here run that well. They're going to move back and get as much range as they possibly can.
Yeah, I guess when you have an extremely slow runner, you can fan out a little more. Now, if he hits the ball hard, there's really nothing you can do no matter where you're set up. But there's more time to get to the ball and throw to first with Martinez running.
Yes, there is.
Two balls, 2 strikes, 98 with that fastball. And there it is, Merrifield in shallow right, plenty of time to the bottom of the 9th inning.
The waiter's shift is over. Sir, we'll have to move you to another table.
It will be walk-off number 5. Here are the first 4. First against Minnesota with Terrence Gore scoring on a wild pitch. Lorenzo Cain against Washington. Kendrys Morales against Atlanta. And then Brett Eibner in his second big league game. That was against the White Sox. That was that 7-run bottom of the 9th inning. Today, the Royals only need 1. Ian Kinsler stays in at second base.
Man, and this crowd has just erupted. They know what time it is. Time to get her done.
And it's time for the Tiger bullpen as Jordan Zimmermann with 93 pitches and had retired the last 11 Royals. He gives way to lefty Justin Wilson.
That was one heck of a pitching performance by Zimmermann. Unbelievable. That guy's screwed. Oh,
Dyson
will take it. Oh, he had to do it.
plate umpire Gabe Morales reacted emphatically. It looked like for a moment that he was issuing a warning, but he was just telling everyone that made contact with Dyson.
But you know, Wilson's not trying to do this. Heck, he doesn't want to put on the fastest guy in baseball on the base. And it has a tremendous track record, no pun intended, in ripping bags off, because he's good. Now Merrifield's up there. He's got a situation here where he's going to make the defense a little nervous. They're all talking to one another. It's because he can bunt. But we've seen Ned use Dyson when he's in there or comes into pinch run to steal second and then maybe sacrifice him over. But right now, I would expect Whit Merrifield to be taking a few pitches and see if Gerard can get a jump and get into scoring position. But we'll see.
Nothing fancy about that move.
Remember, James has a McCannon, so really watch out for this guy. I mean, it's all about the pitcher. He's got to be able to get that ball home quick to him. But you can steal off of Wilson. The opponents have been successful 14 out of 16 times in the last 3 seasons off of Wilson.
And again, Dyson was able to read that quickly. Dyson reaching is the first Royals base runner since the 5th.
A little fastball cutter, curveball change. See what he tries to use here to Merrifield.
And Witt, that looked like an in-betweener, either sacrifice or bunting for a base hit. He's a good bunter. You may as well try and bunt for a base hit. With worst case scenario, he had Dyson at second base with 1 out.
Well, he had the perfect pitch to do it on. His barrel was above the hands. He was in a good position there. He just couldn't quite get it out in front enough. I would just assume that Dyson could steal this base. He's got a high percentage of being successful, and then let him move him over. But we'll see what's up here. Merrifield can do a lot of things. Put him in that top spot. That's where Ned's been putting him. He can hit second too with this type of ability with a base stealer in front of him.
Oh, Cabrera makes a sliding play.
Okay, you know you're going to get a fastball if he thinks you're bunting, and they're going to keep throwing it high up there like that, so he gets that. You got it. Merrifield wanted to pull the bat back on that. That's a pitch that you just let go. You got to take it. So there it is. You try to give up an out just to move a guy who can steal bases at random at will.
You know, even though his move isn't very good, on that last pitch to Merrifield, he was pretty quick to the plate.
He was, but he missed up in the zone. He's not going to be able to throw strikes. And he wants to give McCann a good fastball up there, so in case Dyson does go, it's a good pitch for him to throw out. Throw him out.
Escobar lines it into the crowd.
And as good as Merrifield is at hitting singles and gaps, I mean, he could have ended the game with a swing. The bunt is okay, but not all the time.
Especially when you're hitting around 340.
Right. Just took the bat right out of his hands. And he might have been doing that on his own.
Dyson out. 2 down, nobody on.
Gerard did the right thing. When you take off on first movement, that minute he lifted up his foot, he was heading that way. And lots of times you can get a steal in there if the throw is off from the first baseman. But Miguel Cabrera put it right there for Iglesias to put the tag on him.
And Dyson tried to get in the lane of that throw.
It's important that the first baseman steps way inside that runner to clear himself from hitting him.
One ball and 2 strikes. Doesn't happen very often in situations like this. The Royals are usually very calm in the later innings, and they allow the opponent to deal with the anxiety. But that's the first time in a while in a situation like this where you got the feeling that the Royals were over anxious.
Yeah. So just letting it happen.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Coming up after the game, Boulevard Royals Live with Joel. The Royals are hoping to take 3 out of 4 from the Tigers. The Tigers are hoping for a 4-game split. We just found out Cleveland has defeated Chicago 3-2 in extra innings. Escobar works at full count after falling behind. So
And
the Royals need a win to remain a half game back in the standings.
Justin Wilson power fastball. I mean, that's throwing nothing but mid to upper 90s fastballs here, and that's difficult to bunt for Merrifield. Now let's see if Esky can get fastball out over the plate.
Moya makes a play in right field, so a hit batter on the first pitch of the inning. But any rally is snuffed out by Wilson and the Tigers, and we go to the 10th. By Jack Link's Beef Jerky all season long. Jack Link's Beef Jerky, feed your wild side. Peter Moylan will get the top of the 10th inning. The Tigers do not have a base hit since the 5th inning. The Royals don't have a base hit since the 5th inning. Royals tied the game in the bottom of the 5th at 1, and the pitching has really taken over on both sides since. Peter Moylan will get Nick Castellanos, Justin Upton, and Steven Moya.
Extremely important for Peter Moylan to keep that sinker down, that slider down, work a few changeups in, but just a few. Low 90s velocity.
Strike to Castellanos. He's 0 for 3 so far today with a pair of strikeouts. Royals pitchers have struck out 11 today. Way in on him. And Cuthbert makes the play, 1 down.
Good pitch. Sinker on his hands. Hard to square that one up. Cuthbert does such a great job coming in on balls.
And now strike to Justin Upton. Moylan pitched in Game 1 on Thursday and had his roughest appearance so far of the year, giving up a season high 3 runs. He had allowed just 2 runs in his previous 9 appearances.
He had a long layoff though, so he was having some command issues. When you're a sinker ball pitcher and you don't pitch in 5 to 7, 8 days. What did he go, 9 days? I believe it was 9 days he went without in between starts. And look, it's just hard to get that sinker to work like you want it to. You're not going to have great command.
On the ground to Escobar. 2 down in the top of the 10th inning. And now Moylan will get Steven Moya, who's responsible for the Tigers' lone run. And that was his first major league home run on the first pitch of the 3rd inning.
I got to go in there and introduce myself to this young man today because I wanted to meet him and hear from him a little bit. He was very interesting. Guess who he told me his favorite player was? He was born in Puerto Rico, grew up in the Dominican Republic. It got
Juan Gonzalez.
Nope, it got him interested in playing baseball. Torrey Hunter. He told me he saw a catch that he made out in the outfield, and he told his mother, "Mom, that's what I'm going to do."
Left center field. He has a 3-hit game.
Yeah. He's found it. That home run got him locked in. I mean, you know, our good friend Dan Dickerson, their great broadcaster over there, was telling me before the game today about his power. He hit some balls in spring training that went out of sight. You know, 6'6", 250, whatever, 240, whatever this kid is. He's got massive power.
There's Dan Dickerson on the right with former Tigers catcher Jim Price on the Tigers radio network. Now James McCann. Slider sweeps outside. McCann is 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts. The Tigers get their first hit since the 5th inning with Moy at first and 2 down. Boy, if McCann didn't swing at that pitch, that might have hit him.
Moylan coming inside on these right-handed hitters to open up the slider away. Didn't have any chance to put that in play.
Marlins ahead, 1 ball, 2 strikes. A rare low-scoring game in this series. Tigers took game 1 10-4. The Royals took game 2 10-3. And then the Royals won last night 16-5. Wow. And here we are 1-1 in the 10th inning. Two and two.
Salvi wanted it up. Man, that's a high strike.
Off the end of the bat. Dyson sprints in from center. He's there. So to the bottom of the 10th inning, the Royals have the middle of the order coming up. Eric Hosmer, Salvador Perez, and Kendrys Morales. Today's copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Kansas City Royals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Kansas City Royals Baseball Club. 1-1 tie to the bottom of the 10th inning. Steven Moya hit his first major league home run in the 3rd inning. That's the only mistake that Chris Young made. The Royals got their run on an RBI ground out from Brett Eibner in the 5th. And that's it. Both teams 1 run, 4 hits, and no errors. Royals have used 4 relievers. The Tigers are on their 2nd now as Shane Green will pitch the bottom of the 10th. Shane Green with a 5.64 ERA. He's been both a starter and a reliever. Outside to Eric Hosmer. Hosmer flied into a double play in the 1st inning and is struck out twice. He is 0 for 3. Hosmer, Perez, and Morales in the bottom of the 10th.
Low to mid 90s with a sinking fastball. He throws a good cutter too. There it is.
Hosmer is 4 out of 9 against Green, and that includes an RBI single against Green in the game on Friday. Green allowed 3 runs in just 2/3 of an inning on Friday. Shallow left, and Upton brings it down for the out. In game 1 of the series, Shane Green was very good. He pitched the scoreless 8th inning in the Tigers' 10-4 victory. So 1 good, 1 bad in his first 2 appearances. And now Salvador Perez. Perez is 0 for 3 so far today and 1 for 9 altogether against Green. Up the middle, base hit center field.
Salvador had some good topspin on this ball here. That's the reason Kinsler couldn't get to it. You'll see on contact, he hits the top of the ball takes off when it gets on that ground. With a little topspin on it, there's no chance.
Our AT&T high-speed replay. Salvi's hit in 11 straight. It's 13 hits for Salvador Perez during this homestand. 13 hits in 7 games.
Well, what's going on now is Osmus is trying to relay to Cabrera where to play Salvador Perez at first base with a left-handed hitting Morales at the plate. So he's backed off the bag a little bit. Salvi's not going anywhere.
And Cabrera goes down to second and didn't give Iglesias a very good feed. So the Tigers get the lead runner, but the Royals are still breathing with Morales at first base and 2 down.
And that's why you play the first baseman off of the runner. See, he backed up. It gave him a little bit more range there. And that's what that's designed for. There's no need to hold him on.
Paulo Orlando is 1 for 3 today with a 5th inning double. One career walk-off home run. That was in game 1 of a doubleheader against Tampa Bay. And it was a grand slam. No balls and 1 strike. Of all of the Royals hitters who appear to be firing in all cylinders right now, the hottest hitter at the moment is Paulo Orlando with 11 hits in his last 19 at-bats.
And highly unlikely he'll score Morales on a gapper. The outfielders are playing no doubles and very deep.
Lays off a pitch down and in. 1 ball, 1 strike. Lays off the slider. 2-1. Green started the season in the Tiger rotation and then was on the disabled list with a blister. And when he came back, they eased him back in the bullpen, and there was a big need in the bullpen. He is for the most part pitched well there, so they've just left him. Right field, and Moya looking up into the sun, and we head to the 11th inning. So far the Tiger bullpen has gotten the job done. Father's Day. A 1-1 tie to the top of the 11th inning. Peter Moylan stays on after a scoreless 10th. Jose Iglesias chops it to Escobar. That ball really came up on him. Almost kangarooed over his head, and Escobar takes care of Iglesias, and Iglesias is 0 for 4.
Well, this time of the afternoon, the water's all evaporated off that dirt, so it's going to be hard. Moisture is important, keeps the ball down when it's bouncing out there in the infield.
Cameron Maben singled and stole a base back in the 3rd inning. Good movement, tailing in on Maben. No balls and 1 strike. Not only is it a low scoring game, it's a low hit game. We've played 10 full innings plus 1 out, and we've only had 9 hits. The Royals have 5, the Tigers have 4. Chin-Ming Wong warms up behind Peter Moylan. Down and away, 1 ball, 2 strikes. Two and 2 on Maben. So the count goes from 0-2 to 3-2. And if Maben is on, he's a threat to run. Already has a stolen base today and 8 on the year. And that leads the Tigers.
Little sinker right there where Salvi's glove is. Oh, way to go, Peter Moylan. I love his focus today. After giving up 3 runs in his last outing out of that Royals bullpen, he's coming in now like this is his game.
And Maben just got thrown out of the game.
Yeah, there's nothing to complain about there. If you don't hack, they'll send you back. And he's going to send him out, as he argued. That ball's right there. I mean, on the outer half of the plate. Covered plenty of dish. Sometimes, you know, you're not allowed to argue balls and strikes. Umpire hears something he doesn't like, you got to go.
And by all accounts, Cameron Maben is a good guy. Energetic, outgoing, but that was a very selfish move on his part.
Sure was.
The Tigers, Brad Ausmus needs him patrolling center field, not taking a shower when the Royals come up in the bottom of the 11th inning. This is Ian Kinsler's 2nd at bat. Kinsler batted for Aviles in the top of the 9th and popped out to second base. Escobar. Long throw in time. 2 scoreless innings for Peter Moylan. To the bottom of the 11th, Eibner, Cuthbert, and Dyson. Extra Innings is presented by Jack Link's Beef Jerky all season long. Jack Link's Beef Jerky, feed your wild side. Andrew Romine will take over in center field after Cameron Maben was ejected, arguing with home plate umpire Gabe Morales after a strikeout in the top half of the inning. And hard throwing Bruce Rondon takes over on the mound. Those are his career numbers. Rondon was just called up to the Tigers a few years ago. As a rookie, the Tigers considered using him as their closer.
Well, you know that average against 260, you can get him fastballs right over the middle of the plate. Mid to upper 90s. Slider go with it.
Brett Eibner drove in the Royals run with a ground out in the 5th inning, scoring Morales from 3rd. No balls, 2 strikes. A little bit outside, 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Two sliders in a row. Eibner's thinking fastball coming. Oh, stayed with the slider. Well executed.
Well, if you missed out on tickets to Diamond of Dreams this year, you can still be a part of it by bidding on the event's exclusive auction items at diamond16.gesture.com. Proceeds benefit the charitable arm of the Royals Charities. Fouled back by Chesler Cuthbert. So to see the items up for auction or to bid, again, it's diamond16.gesture.com. Fastball at 99.
Whew, man, that had some late life to it too. Looked like it hopped up.
So you can see why the Tigers thought about making him a closer in 2013, even though he had no major league experience. Line caught by Kinsler.
Kinsler's an outstanding baseball player. Defensively, he's as good as they get. Fundamentally sound. He's got excellent range, keeps himself in tremendous shape. He's a veteran slugger at the plate as well. Well-rounded. You know, this kid Rondon just said he has closer stuff, but not the experience.
And he's got to build up or rebuild his reputation with the Tigers. In the middle of September last year, the Tigers sent him home, told him to go back home to Venezuela, and the reason was due to a lack of effort.
Wow.
One ball and 1 strike. It was the 2013 season. He went into spring training as the Tigers closer, no major league experience. Ended up being sent to the minor leagues at the end of camp, and then that April made his big league debut against the Royals, and the Royals hit him with a blown save. Fastball at 99. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Two and 2 on Dyson. Now the odds are pretty slim that you're going to score a run when there are 2 outs and nobody on, but with Dyson at the plate, if he gets on, he's got a much better chance of stealing second base against Rondon than he did Wilson Still 2-2.
Moya, the right fielder, he's over in towards the center field area. Dyson could somehow pull the ball down that right field line. That would be very exciting. Especially if it wraps around that corner down there by the foul pole.
Another 99-mile-an-hour fastball. He remind you of anybody?
Bartolo.
Yep. And the Royals will see Bartolo Colon. Kinsler out at first base. Ian Kinsler, who wasn't even in the starting lineup today, made two very good plays to help Rondon to a 1-2-3 bottom of the 11th.
Last of a 4-game series against the Tigers. MLB.TV Premium is the #1 live streaming sports service. Watch every out-of-market game live in HD at home, in the office, or on the go. Get real-time highlights, live look-ins, pitch-by-pitch tracking, and more. MLB.TV Premium also includes a free at-bat for premium subscription. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Please visit MLB.com for details.
Peter Moylan is going to stay on for a 3rd inning. Why not? He's only thrown 22 pitches to get through the 10th and the 11th.
He's been getting them to swing early in the count. Get some early count outs.
Miguel Cabrera, Victor Martinez, and Nick Castellanos, the 3-4-5 hitters. Cabrera is 0 for 2 with a pair of walks. And the only walks given up by Royals pitching today. That fastball tails inside, 2-0. Two and one. At the end of the game, when you say an offense has 2 runs, 9 hits, that's not much. Well, today, that's what the two teams have combined to do. 2 runs, 9 hits, and that's through 11 innings.
Yeah, amazing. Jordan Zimmerman, he was on a mission today. He wanted to go as deep in the game as he could for his manager, Osmus. Nice slider.
There have only been 3 extra base hits today. A home run by Moya and doubles on the Royals side by Escobar and Orlando. Nice big hop for Alcides Escobar. One down in the 12th.
Moylan using that sinker. It's working well for him today. He looks crisp and sharp.
And now you can say he looked crisp and sharp, because Ned Yost is out to get Chin-Ming Wong.
One heck of a job. Hopefully Wong can get his sinker down just like Moylan had his working today. Outstanding work.
"12 innings at least, and a 1-1 tie in a pitching dominated game. It's been an offense dominated series. Ned Yost wanted Peter Moylan to stay in and face Miguel Cabrera, and now he turns to Chin-Ming Wong with one out and nobody on.
22nd game, Chin-Ming Wong. Sinker, slider, some occasional changeups.
The home run Victor Martinez has hit against Chin-Ming Wong was on Thursday. He gave up Victor Martinez's third home run of that game, and then retired the next three hitters. And Martinez, against a sinker ball pitcher, got a fastball up and didn't get it. Martinez homered twice against Danny Duffy, and then Wong. Victor Martinez is 0 for 4 so far today. He's one of the rare switch hitters that is pretty similar from both sides of the plate.
That's right. And you know, the other one off the top of my head, of course he's a lot younger, is Lindor. Lindor, he's identical from both sides of the plate. Some guys have different stances. Morales is different.
And his numbers are very good from both sides of the plate. Had that conversation with Dale Swaim. Now Dale Swaim was a switch hitter, so he could really relate to the challenges that Kendrys Morales has had trying to maintain two swings. And it really is, for most switch hitters, two different swings, sometimes two different approaches. Two balls, two strikes. Eddie Murray was someone that Dale brought up as someone who was almost identical from both sides of the plate. Nick Swisher was someone who was very similar from both sides of the plate. And the count goes from 0-2 to 3-2. Now here's where I say you don't give in to Victor Martinez, because if he walks, it's going to take 2, maybe 3 hits to get him to the plate.
Right.
Center field, Dyson on the move. He's got it on the track. Well, you got a pitch to hit. I don't know if that was the plan or not, but that was dangerously close to the Tigers having the go-ahead run in scoring position.
Yeah, you know, Victor was going to be swinging no matter what. He didn't want the walk. He wants to hit it, and I'll tell you, he almost got it. Dyson, trustworthy legs, was able to get a good jump on that, catch it before it got to the wall.
And now Castellanos with 2 down, nobody on. Where was that pitch supposed to be? Okay, the target is down and away, and that was up, out over the plate.
Very, very lucky there.
Castellanos is down 0-2. Bullpens have been strong on both sides. Tigers have 1 hit since the 5th inning. The Royals have 1 hit since the 5th inning. Didn't mean to do it. Merrifield out to the bottom of the 12th. Merrifield will lead off, followed by Escobar and Hosmer. Very long, and Stephen Moya homering against Chris Young, leading off the 3rd inning, his first major league home run. In the 5th, Kendrys Morales singled. Paulo Orlando doubled, just missed hitting a 2-run home run. And Brett Eibner grounded out to short. That scored Morales, and that's it. 1-1 to the bottom of the 12th, top of the order, and Bruce Rondon stays on for Detroit. He got the Royals in order in the 11th. Hard slider for a strike to Merrifield. Witt is 1 for 4. He has hit safely in all 14 home starts. That pitch may have been outside. No balls and 2 strikes. Merrifield, Escobar, and Hosmer. And if anybody gets on, we're going to have a matchup of former Little League teammates in Valencia, Venezuela. Rondon and Salvador Perez.
Wow, that'd be interesting
if Rondon is still in. Fouled back. Witt had a pretty good swing on an 0-2 pitch, and his base hit in the 4th inning was on an 0-2 pitch. One away. Second strikeout for Rondon. Alcides Escobar, like Paulo Orlando, came very close to hitting a home run today. Esky in the 1st inning doubled off the wall in left field. Kinsler wants it. 2 down. Tigers have a lefty in the bullpen, Blaine Hardy. But Brad Ausmus is going to stay with Rondon, it appears. And Hardy gave up 5 runs a couple of nights ago in 1 inning. So Hosmer 1 for 3, and that 1 hit was a home run.
Well, he's been looking for that high fastball, that's for sure. Rondon looks like he's got excellent command with both pitches today. Slider's been down.
.100.
That's some heat. Already hot afternoon here at the K.
Off speed. 1 ball, 1 strike.
That looked like
Take that back. 2 balls, no strikes.
Yeah, that looked like a changeup to me. Didn't have that downward action. And he does have a changeup. Doesn't throw it all that often.
Two and 1. Hosmer's batting average against right-hand pitchers coming into the game was 4th best in the major leagues. And his batting average against lefties has really spiked since the end of May.
He's getting his fastballs, and Rondon and McCann, they know he's looking up there. So when you have that type of velocity on your pitch, it's easy to get it by him when it's up above the belt.
Going to try and put him away with a slider. And he does. And we move to the 13th inning in a 1-1 tie. series. The Tigers took game 1 on Thursday 10-4. The Royals took game 2 10-3 and then won last night 16-5. It's been a bizarre series in that for the first half of the first 3 games, and really this game too, have been competitive and then just turned into blowouts in the later innings with bullpen breakdowns on both sides, but not today.
And dads are going, man, I know that your mom's got the steak ready, got some ribs going. Want to see a Royals victory before they head home.
First full inning for Chien-Ming Wang. He got the final 2 outs of the 12th in relief of Peter Moylan. The Tigers have 1 hit since the 5th inning, and they have just 2 hits since the 3rd inning. It'll be Justin Upton, Stephen Moya, and James McCann. The Royals have used Chris Young, Joaquim Soria, Kelvin Herrera, Wade Davis, Peter Moylan, and Chien-Ming Wang. There's a base hit into left field for Upton.
Got him a sinker, got out in front of it, found the hole.
And now Stephen Moya had a day he'll never forget. He has 3 hits, and the home run in the 3rd inning was his first major league home run. That's the Tigers' only run. Below the strike zone. 1 ball and no strikes. Upton will run. He has 3 stolen bases this year. And there's a ground ball to Cuthbert. He'll go to second. Out there. No double play. At least for now, the Royals want to take another look.
Well, good communication there by the middle infielders. Escobar was the shortstop, but they're playing him to pull, and Cuthbert, they knew right away before the ball was even hit where they were going to throw it.
Ooh, that's close.
Sure was.
The Royals will not challenge.
Good hustle by the young man to beat that out. Moya. It's a tough play by Cuthbert too. Just, you know, all of a sudden, I mean, obviously we take it for granted these guys, anything hit at them they're going to make. There's a high degree of difficulty on that backhand.
Strike to McCann. One ball and 1 strike. Moya does not have a major league stolen base. Played in 11 games with the Tigers 2 years ago, 9 games last year, and just called up for this series. But he has stolen as many as 16 in a minor league season. Two and one.
Boy, I tell you, it's nice that umpire helped with that one. That would have went back to the backstop.
Moya runs, and the pitch is lined to right field. Paulo Orlando is there. Moya didn't see it. Inning over, double play. Moya put his head down and never read the ball in right field.
There's a little momentum. One in the fourth and final game here of this series. Interesting on this little hit and run. When you're the runner on hit and run, and a guy hits a line shot like that, you just keep going. That's what they tell you to do. Just keep going. If the guy drops the ball, then you got a chance to score. And Moya, Merrifield's trying to deke him. He's trying to trick him into thinking the ball was hit on the ground, but Moya saw it. But as he went back to first, he never touched the bag going back. Likely would have been called out had they appealed. So there's a little momentum, takes you into the Royals dugout here, and Salvador Perez is going to step up against another new pitcher, Kyle Ryan.
Just called up. Kyle Ryan will get Salvador Perez, Kendrys Morales, and Paulo Orlando. I said Blaine Hardy last inning. Hardy was part of the roster move that got Kyle Ryan to the big leagues.
It's not overpowering. Opponents average 307. That's good for this situation. And you got a guy up in Salvador Perez who knows what to do with any mistakes out over the plate. 88 to 93 with his fastball. He likes to cut the fastball in on righties. A big curve and a change.
Line right field, base hit.
Salvador Perez, it doesn't matter how far outside the ball is most of the time, but if it's way off the plate, he's going to reach it. Look at that. That ball's a foot outside. Great extension. Way to get it started. Now you wondered when Ned Yost was going to pull the Lorenzo Cain card, as Lorenzo's had the whole afternoon off. You wondered if he was going to use him as a pinch hitter or a runner, and here it is. He's a pinch runner. Royals going for it all. Cain has 6 steals on the year. He's been caught 4 times.
And now the Royals get Kendrys Morales from his better side of the plate.
It's almost like Salvador knew that he wasn't going to try anything coming in on him. As Kyle Ryan, he's been witnessing what the Royal Sluggers have been doing recently.
Now with Morales from this side of the plate, you try and steal off Ryan, or is Lorenzo Cain out there just in case Morales hits a gap?
Well, I think a little bit of both here. Now, by the looks of Lorenzo Cain, he's trying to get a maximum lead. Looks like he might be wanting to steal. There's a little step-off move from Ryan.
Morales has good numbers against Kyle Ryan. It's 4 out of 6. Not running, and Morales takes outside, ball 1.
He's going to be staying outside if he can. And Morales doesn't have to end it necessarily with one big swing of the bat. He could take the Salvi approach. Salvi wasn't trying to swing for the fences. He just is trying to load it up and get some guys on base.
Outside again, 2-0.
And just the fact that Lorenzo Cain is a stolen base threat should be enough to get in the mind of Ryan, and maybe he'll leave a mistake out over the plate trying to get it home quickly to Kendrys Morales.
And now 3 balls and no strikes.
That's right. I mean, there's no need to swing at a pitch off the plate, and that's what Ryan's counting on. But Morales, in this little groove he's in, has been getting his walks.
It was 5 weeks ago today that Kendrys Morales hit a walk-off home run in extra innings against the Braves. That was a home run swing on a 3-0 pitch. 3-1.
He threw him a good sinker. Or was it a cutter? That probably was a cutter.
That was a home run for Morales from the left side of the plate. Jason Grilli was the Braves pitcher. And the throw gets away. The immediate scoring is an error on the pitcher Ryan, but it looked like that throw just sailed right past Miguel Cabrera.
It did. I don't know how, if he didn't see it or what. Let's see it again. Yeah, he just whipped it.
Yeah, that's not a bad throw.
No, it's right to him.
So no change on the scoring. It's still error 1, and now they'll walk Morales and take their chances with Paulo Orlando. So an intentional walk, and it's the only walk given up by a Tiger pitcher. And the first walk comes in the 13th inning. And now Brad Ausmus is out to talk strategy with Paulo Orlando at the plate.
Well, again, it's another situation here, and it's a little bit different than the last time. So there'll be runners at first and second base. With nobody out, Paulo Orlando, he handles the bat well. He's a bunter. If they elect to go that route to give up an out to move the 2 runners over, we'll have to wait and see what they do. Guy that doesn't throw as hard as some of these other guys that were in there in bunting situations, are a little bit easier to get the bunt down. 2 career sacrifice bunts Paulo Orlando has. Now Iglesias, he's sitting right in Lorenzo Cain's hip pocket. Now he's moving off. If you're going to bunt, make the third baseman vacate third.
And he gets it down. Castellanos, bare hand, close and out.
Nice execution. That's exactly what you want to do. Fans sensing blood in the water. Perfect technique. See the ball down before you take off running, and made this play close. And Castellano, you know, that's a tough play to come in there like that, emergency barehanded, but he came through with a good play and was able to get Paulo just by half a step.
And now let's see what they do with Eibner. They're going to walk Eibner and put all the pressure on Cuthbert.
However, if Cuthbert's thinking right, the pressure's on Ryan.
This would have been Eibner's second opportunity for a walk-off in 8 major league games. But they have an open base, and with just 1 out, it allows them the opportunity for a force at home.
You know, with Major League Baseball talking about, you know, eliminating the walk, the intentional walk, and just putting them on with 4, that eliminates the excitement and the drama of a game just like this. Okay, if he messes with it, it could cost the game. I say they don't change the rule.
So Cain running for Perez is at third. That's the only run that matters as Cuthbert comes to the plate. Schessler is 0 for 4, which includes a line out to Kinsler in the 11th inning. $34,659. Hoping for a walk-off on Father's Day. Corners are in. Middle of the infield is halfway. In the dirt. And McCann just saved the game. 1 ball and no strikes. Two balls and no strikes. And I think that's exactly where Ryan wanted those last 2 pitches. Tempting and down, hoping for a ground ball.
No, I think Ryan's doing a great job in his first time since getting called up. He knows it's a big-time situation to impress his manager. He's doing what he's supposed to be doing. Not giving him anything good to hit here.
Ground ball, base hit. Schessler Cuthbert wins it in the bottom of the 13th inning. And it's lobster for everyone in Nicaragua on Father's Day.
Way to go, Schessler. Waited till he got a good hitting count. Wasn't up there just swinging from his heels. Got him a good pitch to hit. Walked it off. Fifth walk-off of the season for the Royals.
And it's a 6-1 homestand for the Royals. They take 3 out of 4 from the Tigers. And the magic continues at Kauffman Stadium. The Royals have now won 12 of their last 13 here. Kyle Ryan just called up. Gives up a leadoff single to Salvador Perez. Nedjios runs Lorenzo Cain, who was on the bench. After an error, Cain got to second. Morales was intentionally walked. Paulo Orlando put down a great sacrifice bunt, almost ended up with a hit. After an intentional walk to Brett Eibner, Cheslor Cuthbert wins the game, and the Royals take 3 out of 4 from the Tigers. Let's go down to the field, and here's Joel.
Well, joined right now by Cheslor Cuthbert, who ended it. And let's take the Gatorade bath right now. I just said to Cheslor, you're going to get wet, and he said, I need it. It's a very hot day. How good does it feel to end this one in the 13th?
Like, it's a really good to get this win. Like, it's been a long game, but I think that's fun to get this win.
And in front of, again, another huge crowd. How much do you love playing here at Kauffman Stadium, another great homestand?
Yeah, the fans always support us, and that's something like give us like more motivation to play baseball harder. So that's a good motivation.
All right, take us through the approach there and the thought in facing the lefty Ryan. Bases loaded. What's your mindset? What are you trying to do?
I was just looking for a good pitch, second like a fly ball, or just to get the runs.
And last thing for you, as you guys wrap this thing up, and a tough day hitting with the pitching being so good. What was the thought there in the dugout? It's hot. I know everybody wants to get home. So what are you saying to each other?
Like, we never give up. We just keep playing. We just keep playing until we get opportunity to win the game. So everything came out good. So we have the opportunity to win the game.
I think the parents and everybody watching back in Nicaragua.
Well, I think all the fathers here in Kansas City for watching the game.
All right, happy Father's Day here in Kansas City and in Nicaragua. Cheslor Cuthbert, great job.
Well, thank you.
Ryan, let's go back to you.
All right, Joel. Well, it was a long day, but Dad stayed for all 13 innings, and it was worth it. As the Royals get a walk-off hit from Cheslor Cuthbert, his first major league walk-off hit. It took 13 innings, but the Royals win 2-1. They take 3 out of 4 from the Tigers, and they are 6-1 on the homestand.